We can't allow life on this planet to be subservient and essentially enslaved to a fictional, legal and political system that only exists on paper, whose sole purpose seems to be to milk this planet of resources. We simply can't allow it to happen, because by continuing to ignore all of these problems, we are simply allowing them to compound into one very, very big problem. Just look at the state of the earth. Endless destruction, endless wars, endless pollution, and the almost complete breakdown of our environment as we are now seeing, with all the disasters that we have allowed to be created through our inaction and our willingness to turn a blind eye, our need to simply focus on the good, or to simply allow the world to be destroyed around us because we believe that if we ignore and block out all the negative activity in the world, we will ascend to a higher dimension, despite our willingness to allow all of the atrocities that are carried out in the world to continue via our own inaction. Or perhaps we're simply the type of person who believes that in the last moment a saviour is going to arrive and rescue us, despite the fact that as a race we have never even once shown an ounce of responsibility, or even once ever attempted to rescue ourselves. Unfortunately, the goal of most people that exist within this modern social system is acquisition, ownership of all that they can, in the belief that this will improve them as a person, in the belief that it will open up the mysteries of life and bring them happiness and joy and completion. But all it really does is serve to isolate them from other people. They're always looking after their stuff. They're too scared someone will take their stuff from them. And they've spent their whole life in the acquisition of stuff, only to find that at the end of their life they can't take any of it with them, and that it's all just stuff. Stuff that has very often caused them to miss out on ever finding out who they were, and to miss out on ever connecting with those around them. The acquisition of stuff has led to the need for money, which will even allow things like fracking to happen, because people are so caught up with money. The money system is very insidious, folks. It is totally designed to enslave people to debt, and we see a situation now where our farmers are being forced off the land because of imaginary debt, thereby opening their land up for fracking. And on the other side of the coin, we're seeing the operators, the miners, the people who carry out the fracking, are in a situation where they are in debt, so they need to go and get jobs in order to maintain their lifestyle, maintain the payments on all the stuff that they really don't need, but that the television has convinced them that they do. And very often, the more money people collect, the more they want. They collect $5,000 and they want to turn it into 10. They collect 10, they want to turn it into 20. Then they want 50, and maybe they can turn that into 100, and it just keeps going and going and going. And because the monetary system itself is interest-based and therefore designed to keep people in shortage, and because there will never be enough money in circulation to pay off everybody's debt, no matter how much money is printed, then the more one person collects for themselves, the more someone else has to go without. So it's a system designed to serve only self and to throw people out onto the trash pile all the way up the food chain until all wealth is transferred into the hands of those who issued the currency. It's quite literally 3D monopoly. Very clever, folks, and very, very insidious indeed. And at the risk of repeating myself ad nauseum, as I have so often said, the way to address this problem is to connect with each other, to build community and to support others within your community. Because there's no reason for any of this stuff to be going on. There's no reason for us to have to put up with any of the problems that we face. The only reason we have to put up with these problems is because we work within the system. And yet, if we change ourselves, if we change within ourselves and start helping those around us, start treating other people as ourselves, the whole system breaks down. We've just got to get away from money, folks. We don't need money. Money is fictional. It doesn't exist. It's simply a system designed to keep people in shortage. It's fascinating how difficult it is for most people to get their head around how the money system works. But it really is the root of the whole problem. It's the main system of control that's in place that prevents people from ever really thinking about anything else. Most people are completely preoccupied with money or sex. That's about it for this civilization. And we run around doing this as we live in our temporary accommodation, enslaved to permanent debt, and we strip mine the planet around us to acquire all of these things, none of which we can keep because the only thing that is inevitable in life is death. And that is the one thing that we have been taught to fear most, when in reality all life is the preschool that prepares you for what happens after. And we've been taught our whole lives to fear what happens after, simply because it is the unknown. Now, whatever your belief system is, whether you believe in ascension to a higher dimension, whether you believe in the rapture, whether you believe Isa is going to come back and save us, whether you believe Christ is going to come and save us, whatever form of enlightenment or salvation you believe you may receive, whatever your belief system is, what most people fail to see is that enlightenment and spiritual or conscious evolution, salvation, whatever you want to call it, can only happen if people participate in the world in which they currently inhabit. It will only happen after we break down the barriers that currently exist within our society and within ourselves. It will only happen once people connect with each other, forgive those around us. If you have a problem with someone, if you believe you've been wronged by someone, forgive them. It doesn't matter. If they actually did do something wrong, then they only did it because they were disconnected. And you only felt the need for vengeance against them because you were disconnected. Both you and possibly they lost sight of what reality actually is and how reality actually works. One of the most insidious and spiritually damaging emotions that a person can feel is vengeance, the need for retribution, the need to go and make life difficult or cause hardship for somebody else because they believe themselves to have been wronged. This is one of the most damaging emotions that a person can put into the field. And this seems to be one of the most common emotions that our society generates within people. But it is the most damaging, folks. So, if you feel you've been wronged, understand that it's all based on a misconception of reality, and the best thing you can do for yourself is to forgive those you believe have wronged you. And I simply can't emphasize the importance of this, folks. I simply cannot emphasize the importance of forgiveness for everybody. Don't hold grudges against people. Forgive them for what they've done. Perhaps you've tried to help someone, they've cost you money, and you feel like you've been ripped off. Or perhaps you feel you've been stolen from, when really you haven't, because if you offered to help someone freely, then it should have been a gift, and it should have required no payback at all, because that's what a gift is. And if a gift that someone has given implies obligation to the receiver, then what you have given to that person is simply not a gift. What you've given them is a debt. So take all of these things into account when you're thinking about your relationships with people, and simply forgive those around you. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful emotions you can have, because true forgiveness comes only from empathy and compassion. And empathy and compassion are the interface and the very fabric of creation itself. These are the two most important emotions that you can feel, and these are the two emotions that are most repressed by this society. You see, ultimately it's up to the individual, folks. It's up to each of us to, as Gandhi said, be the change that we would like to see in the world. So if you can operate in empathy, compassion, and forgiveness for those around you, understand that they are yourself, understand that the only problems these people have ever had have been the direct result of the misconception of reality that this society has provided them with, you can start seeing people in a completely different light. You can start feeling compassion and empathy and sympathy and love and connection for every single person that you come into contact with. But don't seek violence and don't seek vengeance towards people. Vengeance is a terrible, terrible emotion. And to follow a path of vengeance is to follow a path of self-destruction. It really does lead nowhere else. These type of emotions really are soul-destroying, folks. They eat you up inside and they eat up the life that you've got. They sever your connections with other people, and in doing so, they sever your connections with yourself. Such emotions usually come around to bite you when you're not looking. It's very difficult for people to truly understand the fact that emotion is a language. It's one of the hardest things for people to really get grips with. I mean, many people do know it. You can tell people that their emotions are a language, but then they still have these emotional extremes. They still find themselves fighting with other people, throwing expectations and other negative emotions at people. Many will sit around and talk about higher languages and talk about higher consciousness, but they will yet still do these things to those around them. So they haven't really learned. Because the truth is that every time they project such an emotion onto somebody else, they are quite literally damaging reality. But I think we're at about break time here, folks, so I'll leave it there for now, and we'll go and have a break. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I'll speak to you again in a few minutes.